It is now 7:03. I'm going to call the meeting to order. I guess first matter, I'd please ask the town administrator to read the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, we'll have the executive session with item 1, meeting with town council pursuant to MGL Chapter 30A, Sections 21A, 6, and 7, and Suffolk Construction versus DCAM 449 Mass 444 2007, to obtain legal advice in connection with the evaluation of 2 lease buyout proposals for 212 Lake Street and 114 Hunting Lane, Sherborn. Item 2 is meeting with town council pursuant to MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A 3, 6, and 7, and Suffolk Construction versus DCAM 449 Mass 444 2007, to obtain legal advice regarding potential exercise of a right of first refusal to purchase or assign the right to purchase 2 parcels of land located at map 11 parcels 3B and 3C at 31 Hunting Lane, Sherborn. And then item 1 of the regular agenda is a consent agenda with a payroll warrant, minutes of July 9th, August 27th, and September 10th, and meeting calendar for next meetings of December 3rd and December 17th. Item 2 is consideration of acceptance of gift, Sherborn Fire and Rescue Association with Fire Chief Zach Ward. Item 3 is COVID-19 team update. Item 4 is consideration of appointment to Energy Committee, John Higley, reappointment for a term to expire June 15th, 2022. Item 5, consideration of interim and/or permanent hiring options for police chief, the town administrator. And number 6 is consideration of appointment to the police chief search committee, resident at large seat. The names are James Campbell, Frank Jenkins, Andy Goodearl, Michael Richards, and Grace Goodearl. And item 7 is consideration of new hires to police department with Lieutenant David Bento. Item 8 is consideration of administration items and routine business with select board member reports, town administrator report, finance director report, and then adjourn to executive session under the following exemption, not to return to open session for item number 3, to discuss strategy with respect to threatened potential litigation, and the chair declares that discussion during an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigation position of the select board and the town, to discuss the town library pursuant to MGL Chapter 30A, Section 21A, subsection 3. That's it.
Thank you very much, David. Any motions relative to the agenda?
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
I know Paul. Okay, all in favor? Go in the order I see people. Paul.
Aye.
Jeff.
Aye.
George.
Aye.
And Chuck.
Aye.
I am I as well. Okay, so all that being said, our first 2 agenda items. With respect to items 1 and items 2, I move that the select board go into executive session for the reasons as set forth in the nice, as read by the town administrator, as the chair does declare that it warrants an executive session. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, so all in favor. Paul.
Aye.
Jeff. It looks like he's saying aye. You're on mute, Jeff.
Sorry, I didn't want the dog to interrupt.
George.
Aye.
And Chuck.
Aye.
I am I as well. All right. Sorry to do this to the general public, but we're gonna have to boot people out, and hopefully be back soon.
Okay, hold on.
And David, I don't know if we turn off the recording at this point.
The best equipment. The other $1,500 will be used to purchase a training smoke machine to help support our training program. And again, the association's been great to us over the years, and we're very thankful for this donation.
Okay, very good. Do you need a vote from us, or is this a recognition?
Yeah, we need a vote to accept the donation.
Okay. Any questions or motions relative to the board? Yeah, Paul.
I move that we accept the donation and apply it as per the terms of the donation.
Okay, very good.
Second.
Okay. Motion by Paul, second by Jeff. All in favor, Paul,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Chuck?
Aye.
I am I as well. That's great. Thank you very much, Zach. And doesn't say who it's from, but I guess thank the donor as well, please, on behalf. Absolutely. Okay. Next up, COVID-19 team update. Is that going to be you, Zach, or Daryl, or both?
I'm going to kick it off briefly. So I just have a few things. Number one, with the assistance of the town administrator, we're actually able to submit approximately $30,000 in grants last week related to COVID-19 PPE in response. Most of that would be for public safety. If we're allocated that, we could take some of what we have in stock now and issue it to other departments, which would certainly be great. So I thank the town administrator for helping with that. Just a quick update. The last couple of weeks, we have seen an increase in calls, not only in town, but through mutual aid for either COVID or possible COVID cases. So we are seeing an increase. As you probably all well know, there is a surge or a wave of cases happening in the region. So we fully expect that. A lot of our mutual aid partners have been busy, and we have been going out of town a little more than we were. So luckily our people are protected, though. They have the right stuff, and we've had the protocols in place since the spring, so it's working out well. I know we've talked about this before, but the work group is still doing a great job at collaborating with other groups, other towns, and through state agencies. For instance, I know Ellen Hartnett from the Board of Health is on multiple conference calls a week. We also all meet with Dover twice a week, once or twice a week, and we have regular team meetings ourselves. So I think the collaboration between other towns and other agencies has been great, and we're certainly getting a lot out of that. And we've been doing that since I think April or maybe even March. So, and it's been great. So. And that's really all that I had from the emergency management side of the house. I think Daryl's on for some Board of Health.
Is Daryl on? I see her name on the right here.
He's here, yeah.
Yep, I'm here.
All right, go ahead, Daryl.
Hi. So I'll give you, I'll just mention briefly that we continue to work with, in addition to the groups that Zach mentioned, other groups such as townwide cleanup, various sports activities, functions, proposed changes at the Heritage to add some other outside activities for people to do there, all on the COVID front regarding COVID safety. So there's a lot going on. And as Zach mentioned, part of that is we have to keep on top of it because the case rates are definitely going up. So I think we had 3 or 4 new cases in Sherborn this week. And of course, we always have the schools in mind. And so we just did another update of guidelines for school reopening or closing, depending on what's happening. So we're constantly tweaking and adjusting that based on new information that comes out, and including things such as what sort of testing regimes might be implemented to respond to different circumstances and what the feasibility of those are. So there's all that going on, but also we held a meeting this week with town employees, invited any town employee to come attend, because there were some concerns around COVID-19 within the employee population. So we went over some basic issues about safety and what in particular we focused on indoor air quality dynamics, and why indoor air quality is a much more difficult thing than outdoor, and why masks are so important in that environment, and that it's difficult to address. So I'm just going to briefly mention some of the things that were talked about that might be investigated by the town, but I will say that they are complex issues, and I don't think something that would be appropriate to discuss here because they're detailed, they're technical, they're challenging technically, and they're also challenging administratively and potentially financially. So among those issues were concerns about cleaning and sanitation of the various town buildings, whether things could be done regarding the indoor air quality, either through different management of ventilation or use of filters, portable standalone filters within spaces. And then the last one was whether the town would support a testing program for employees. So, and then there are lots of details to go with all those topics, and I think there might be some people here who, of the employee population, who might want to address some of that, but I just want to at least introduce it. So you know it might be something on the horizon for future investigation.
Okay, thank you very much, Daryl. Any comments among the board or questions?
Just a question.
Yeah.
Those items that Darrell just mentioned, I think it's important to keep people safe and happy. Should we be taking some action right now? It sounds like a good question about filtration. I remember reading an article that says that there are some filters that do filter out the virus and some filters that don't. And if they're portable devices that we can buy fairly cheaply, why not?
Okay, so there are, and I would say the easy answer, although not the complete answer, is units with HEPA filters. Of course, then quality and sizing and all the rest are issues, but HEPA filters are that's the simplest answer and considered very effective relative to other types. So that would be important. I would just caution that they are not a substitute for wearing masks. That is, as far as what we know now, a mask wearing is really the best defense that we have at the moment. So one should regard the filters as supplementary only, not a substitute, just an added level of protection.
So even with that caveat, my question is, why not do it?
I'm not saying that one shouldn't do it, but that would be that's the caveat. And then one needs to look at expense and identify what's available and what will perform within the various spaces and how they are positioned within the space.
I think she's giving supportive of it. I think it's more of a question, I think, for like David or Sean as to like, can we buy these things? I think that's what the real question is, Paul.
We can
And
certainly,
Sharon could comment on the CARES Act aspect of that too.
we can certainly buy them, Eric. It's it would be better if they were more endorsed as being highly protective, but if they provide some sort of protection, then yeah, we can purchase some of them.
And hi, this is Sharon. We definitely have money available through the CARES Act. We have not. I'm anticipating there's probably about 30,000 that's going to be available based on a projection that I worked with all the COVID team on. So there's definitely funds available that we could support this.
So Daryl, understanding that it's not the same thing as wearing masks, you still got to wear masks despite having HEPA filters there. Do they actually help? Like, I know this is kind of a, like, I don't know.
Yes, it can help. Then there's how often do you need to change the filters? How do you know when you change the filters? How do you know if you're drawing air evenly from around the room? All those things are the technical.
Yeah.
That's why I say it's not a guarantee, but it is something. It will do something. We just don't know how much exactly. So that's why it's an added protection, but of unknown.
I think it would make sense, and this is just me talking very quickly in an open meeting, maybe to put it, maybe limit it in consideration in places where there's shared offices. I wouldn't consider it in hallways. I wouldn't consider it in solo offices, but we have 2 or 3 offices, or even 4, which are shared offices where people sit there at this together at the same time, and maybe we start looking at locations like that.
I would very much support that, and I think it needs to be done right away because the surge is now. And if we can benefit one person, one employee, one family, let's do it. So I'd like to make a motion that we authorize the town administrator working with the
Buildings.
DPW director to implement the program for the shared offices.
Yeah, I don't think we need to vote. Do we need to vote on that? That's something we can all agree on.
No, and I would include the COVID team though, not just the DPW director. I mean, they're both members of the COVID team, but they're advising the schools on what to do for this same issue. So they've been studying this extensively.
I can only advise on the, getting the order through procurement.
Yeah.
Advise on location or which offices, but Sean should be able to help. And with the COVID team involved in that, that would be good.
Like I said, look at the shared offices. Those are, I mean, I'm not an expert at this, but those are the ones I think that concern me.
I agree with that.
All right.
And it'll be more effective in a limited size space as opposed
Yeah.
to, say, the open air atrium of the.
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking. That atrium area, having that little thing in that atrium area is not going to do anything. But you
No.
put it like in one of those shared offices, I think it'll be actually effective. All right. Anything else? Okay. Thank you very much, Daryl. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Moving forward. Agenda item number 4, consideration of appointment to the Energy Committee. Looks like we have one consideration. That's John Higley, a reappointment for a term to expire June 15th, 2022.
So I move that we appoint John Higley for a term of 1.5 years
There you
to
go.
the Energy Committee.
Yeah, that is 1.5 years, isn't it? Why is that? Whatever. I guess that's the way things are. All right. Is there a
Second.
second by Jeff? Okay. All in favor? Paul?
Aye.
Jeff?
Right.
George?
Aye.
Chuck?
Aye.
I am I as well. I don't know, John, if you're on here, but congratulations.
I didn't see him.
I didn't see him either. Exactly.
Eric, I thought you and I would both ask that if there's an odd day that he serve the extra day. We want to make sure we get all out of everything we can out of him.
Yeah, exactly. When is June 15th? It's probably on a Sunday or something.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, moving on. Agenda item number 5, consideration of interim and/or permanent hiring options for police chief. It says interim, but actually the background material says acting. Also, there's a difference there. But David Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The information that I put in your packet was for, I didn't know whether you wanted to use the term acting, interim, temporary, short-term, anything. But I made a recommendation in there. Some of that is private personnel information. But I don't know how much of this you want me to read, Eric.
No, I mean,
No.
well, first, I mean, I was like a little frustrated last time because there's kind of nothing in the background. This is great. I think you gave a good detailed write-up. You gave a recommendation. You talked about, powers and limitations. You touched on salary a little bit here, and I'm happy with what's written up here. I don't know how much you want to talk about
Can I
it.
make a comment about what's included here? I just want to.
Yeah, George, please.
I think, thanks, David, for writing this up, but I think I would like to make a motion right away, because I think part of this needs to be, I think a lot of the details that were included in this shouldn't be discussed in open session. They should be an executive session negotiation with the interim chief. I don't think we need to discuss it here. I would like to make a motion to appoint Lieutenant David Bento as interim chief of the town of Sherborn until a new chief is on board, and return back to his lieutenant position to serve as the pleasure of the new chief until the lieutenant's retirement.
I would
Or,
like to-
I want to leave that part. I'm sorry. I move to appoint Lieutenant Bento as interim chief for the town of Sherborn until a new chief is on board. I want to leave it at that.
I second that motion, and also in seconding it, the recommendations are very detailed, but George, I couldn't agree with you more. I think an awful lot of the detail there is personnel matters that need to be discussed in executive session, not an open session. This is not the way to negotiate a contract. So I enthusiastically second your motion.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yeah, Jeff, go ahead.
Yes, what I'm wondering is, should we modify the motion to include then scheduling that executive session to work out the details? Are you saying that we'll create a new contract for the interim chief?
Jeff, no, I was not going to create a new position for that, a job description for that, and I was not going to be replacing the contract. The existing contract would stay in place, and there would be a side letter agreement
Yes.
that honors all the terms of the existing contract. And once this side letter agreement expires, then it goes back to the regular contract.
So this side letter agreement could incorporate the things that were the details that you talked about.
Yeah, all of these are things that have already been worked out.
Yeah.
And that, but not agreed to by the board. So you would have to get them into a document and discuss them and sign.
So we should have an executive session at our next meeting
Yes.
and have that side agreement letter drafted, David, so we can approve that at that time.
Okay, I would like to ask Lieutenant Bento a question, if you don't mind unmuting yourself. Lieutenant, thank you.
There you go. I clicked on it, David. There
Okay.
you go.
You've read this side letter that we're talking about, Lieutenant?
No, I have not read the letter.
Okay.
Now, these are terms that that we had in a discussion, but he hasn't seen this document that went to the board. But he will.
But the side letter's not part of the motion though, Eric. I'm just saying we appoint him and then we work out the details later.
That's usually not how contracts or negotiations are done. Usually you do the terms and then you do appointments.
No, we usually do appointments. Actually, we vote to hire somebody and then we work out a contract with them.
Yeah, you vote to hire them, so it's not, but you don't appoint them. So like you vote to hire a chief, and then you work out the things, then you do a contract, and then you appoint them as a chief.
Normally you appoint them with the contingency of working out the contract.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yep, that's what we've
Well, I
always
was
done.
going to suggest that you just modify the motion to
Okay.
include that contingency, I guess I'd say.
Okay.
In some ways, we don't need to appoint him because he's already in the role,
Well, no, as interim, he's not interim chief, he's acting chief. My motion is to name him interim chief.
Okay, well, I would suggest we make it, with the understanding that we'll work out the details in executive session.
Okay.
I'll accept that friendly amendment.
Okay, so the motion is to appoint him, now what, acting or interim?
As interim chief for the town of Sherborn until a new chief is on board.
With details to be negotiated in
So the
executive.
details to be negotiated in executive session at our next meeting.
Okay,
Works for me, I'll second that.
all right.
I think Chuck already did, but I like to keep him on the QT there.
That's fine. All right, so let's go around the thing. So, all in favor, Paul,
Aye.
Jeff,
All right,
George,
Aye.
Chuck,
Aye.
I am I as well.
Thank you, Lieutenant Bento.
All right. Okay.
thanks, David.
Thank you, all of you, and Mr.
Very
Chairman.
good. Absolutely. And I think you're up next, David. Yes, you are. Oh, and there was some,
No.
there was some details here about the process for the permanent selection. I did talk to David about that, and we felt, and I will leave it up to the board if you want to discuss it further. But we did want to have a meeting among the chief selection committee before we went into kind of further details about this. I don't know if there's any further selection on that, or further discussion on that among this board.
The next line item is to appoint somebody to the search committee, correct?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry, I jumped ahead there.
Yep, and
Right. But there was other stuff in there about some. If you look in your background material, some stuff about further stuff about the actual search itself. But I think that stuff's a bit moot because the committee itself has not even met yet.
Right.
So ignore that. Okay.
Can I-
So if I could, I'd like to propose a change in the committee.
Okay, Paul. What's a proposal?
The proposal is right now, there are 3 members of the select board on this committee. I'd like to expand that to be all 5. And the reason for that is that the 2 members who are not on the committee are very smart, knowledgeable people. They should be part of the process. Since we already have 3, making it the entire board, I think is important. This is a very important position in the town. We want to do it right. And let's draw on the expertise of the whole board and not just 3 of us.
Okay.
I think that makes sense, Paul, and this is an important decision. The board as a whole should own it, so I think all 5 of us need to be involved with it.
And I'm happy to serve on it as well. I think that makes a lot of sense.
I do too.
So David, what does that do for just general open meeting law? Essentially, every meeting we have will be a select board meeting. Effectively, every meeting that the search committee has.
It'll still be an open a public meeting of the committee, and then you would be going into executive session to discuss. And I'll check that, double check that with Chris. But that's, as far as the open meeting law, whether you're all on there or 3 are on there, it's the same. So.
Right.
Yeah, I was going to point out that we already have a quorum of the board on the committee. So the
Yeah.
open meeting law already applies to the committee fully.
Yeah.
So to go from 3 to 5 is absolutely no change at all in the open meeting law.
That OML ship has sailed.
Okay. Is there any concern that essentially the select board has overwhelmed the other voices on the committee?
That's what we're hoping for now.
I don't think.
Because essentially it will go from was proposed as first was proposed as 1 member, then we expanded to 2, then we expanded to 3, now we're expanding it to 5. If you're okay with that, I'm okay with that.
Well, I've made a formal motion.
Okay.
Eric, I see Susie Tyler waving her hand. I don't know if you want to recognize her to speak.
Yeah, Sue, do you want to make comment?
Yeah, I'm just curious. Looking at the agenda, it talks about consideration of the appointment to the search committee, and it mentions the residents at large, but it doesn't mention who the selectmen were that were originally selected to be on this committee. So who were the 2 that were excluded, or the 3 that were included?
Chuck and George were called, I don't want to say excluded, but they were not, they didn't volunteer.
Okay, thank you.
And now
So
we're,
right where you are, huh, Susan?
So your charge for the committee would be the police chief search committee shall be
It'll basically be the entire select board plus whatever.
Plus the resident at large, and
we don't need to say a 7 members. The police chief search committee shall be, or shall consist of the select board, the fire chief, chair of the personnel board or designee from the board, 1 at-large town member, and a retired police chief.
Yeah.
but did you take out the retired police chief part, David, and replace it with?
No, I talked to Eric, and
Okay.
he thinks that, we might have a consultant that's actually a retired police chief, which is,
Okay,
we wouldn't have to do that.
Mhm.
okay. Well, that worked. I mean, do we need to make a motion on that, or?
Well, I made a motion.
Okay, I'll second it.
Okay.
If it hasn't already been seconded.
No, I don't think it had been.
Okay.
Okay, so before we go on, I do want to say I was considering making the first meeting on this as soon as this next Tuesday coming up. I reached out to a couple people just to make sure they're available. I hadn't reached out to Vicky yet. I think she's the personnel board on it. I was going to check with whoever we nominate today as a citizen at large. Is everyone here available as soon as next Tuesday?
We talking day or night?
Evening.
6 p.m. right now. The invitation's actually already been sent by David at I believe 6 p.m. Tuesday night.
The 24th.
Yep, I'm available.
Calendar invite, not the,
If it winds up being the select board, maybe we'll shift it to like the Thursdays we're not meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
I
I
think
mean-
that's a better idea. I have a Board of Selectmen's meeting on Tuesday.
I would like to make it this way, just to make an additional thing to set up a structure, just to set up a charge, run an agenda, and if everyone can't make it, just to kind of get some momentum behind it, and then we'll just start making the other Tuesdays that we're not meeting as a select board.
Yeah, the sooner the better. Just one other piece of information. Vicky and Zach, I believe, were on the invite for the meeting already too.
That's right, yeah. Okay. All right, so a motion and a second to include all select board members. I have one more question about that. So we're not advisory anymore. So really it's going to be, because really the select board votes to do it. So essentially it's going to be the actual selection committee. Whatever.
Inputs on the other members of the committee.
I just,
Yeah.
Eric, I still think that you would participate as a board in the selection committee to bring names to the full board in an open session to conduct interviews of 1 to 3 people.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like it, where the full board recommends to the full board to something. It just seems
Part of a larger board.
highly unusual. I've never seen anything like it, but what the heck? All right, all in favor, Paul,
Aye.
Jeff,
All right.
George,
Aye.
Chuck.
Fine.
I am I as well. All right. So up next, as a consideration of appointments to the police chief's search committee for the resident at large position. We have, I believe, 5 applicants here. Names are before you, both in the agenda and the background material. Some familiar names, some less familiar names.
Can I
And,
make,
yeah, George, go ahead.
I'd just like to recommend Michael Richards, who is one of the applicants. He's somebody I know. He's been he's raising a young family in town. He's a 26 and a half years of service with the state police. I think is great experience that really could add a lot to the committee with that police background. And I know he's an upstanding guy that's lived in town for a while and has, is raising kids here. He's somebody that I would highly recommend for this committee.
I would second that. I like the idea that he's a state police officer or was a state police officer. And one of the things that the committee could benefit, I think, from is that the perspective of experienced police officer.
I guess I have one question. I've met him also, so I don't disagree. I wonder, this is sort of a more of a politically correct statement, but I wonder if we should also consider Grace so that Vicky's not the only woman on the search team.
I just think the experience is invaluable that Michael would bring. I understand, I'm glad that Vicky is serving, so therefore it's not all men. So that I'm happy to hear that we have a woman from the personnel committee. But I think more importantly is the experience from Michael that we could grasp.
Okay, I mean, we could add 2 if we wanted. We just added 2 selectmen too, but we don't want to, Steve Jobs' old saying was any team has to be able to be fed by 1 pizza. Otherwise it's too big.
That's a good one. I think we should select people on the basis of merit, and looking at the qualifications, I think the nomination that George made is really heads and shoulders above the other candidates. I mean, they're all fine. They're all good people. But a guy who's got that much police experience, that's what we're doing, is hiring a police chief, and he brings that kind of specialized knowledge. Seems very lucky to me that we would have that kind of skills available to us.
All right, any other discussion?
No, I'll move, we appoint Michael Richards to the Police Chief Search Committee.
Second.
All right, all in favor, let's see, Paul,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
okay. George,
Aye.
Chuck,
Aye.
and I am I as well. All right, welcome aboard. I guess,
Thank you for so many people applying for this. It's great
Yeah.
to see that many people interested in helping. Because usually we only have one person up for appointment, so it's nice to see a diversity of people that are willing to serve.
And we do have other vacancies.
Exactly.
George, I was blown away that there's so many really good qualified people willing to do it. So it was an impressive list.
a good response. And David, if you could reach out to him about a meeting Tuesday as well, please.
A meeting this Tuesday?
Yeah, please. Just get as many people we can there, and then
Oh, to Thursday.
at least, like I said, I want to get started with the consultant selection and the structure of the group.
Okay.
All right, and looks like at least last of this of the non-routine business, we have consideration of new hires to the police department. Chief Bento.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have two gentlemen tonight that I would like to have you consider for appointment, and I see both are on here. I'm going to start with Kevin Michaud, and just a little background on Kevin. Kevin is a graduate of the Dracut High School. He went on to complete his Bachelor of Science degree in criminal justice with a police option at UMass Lowell. He attended the Methuen Police Academy in partnership with Northern Essex Community College in 2016. He's currently employed by the Bentley University Police Department as a full-time officer. He's been with them since June of 2018. Kevin is looking to move to a municipal department, and after 2 rounds of interviews and an extensive background check, I would like to request a select board vote to approve the appointment of Kevin Michaud to the position of full-time officer with the Sherborn Police Department.
So moved.
Do we do these one at a time? We do them both at once.
Boom. One at a
One time? All right. All right. So a motion of Paul DeRensis to approve Mr. Michaud.
second.
Second by George. All
Just
in
under
favor?
discussion.
Yeah, point of discussion. Go
We've
ahead, Bob.
been, I believe the police department has been understaffed for a while. I think it's important to bring the police department up to a larger population. We had a outside consultant, I think the Novak Group, do a study of the police department and felt that it was understaffed. So this is moving in the right direction. I would commend Chief Bento for pursuing this and bringing this forward. It's safer for our officers, all of our officers, if there are more of them and they're not stretched so thin and not having to strain themselves with overtime and extra duty.
Okay.
And Mr. DeRensis, also, I forgot to mention, these appointments were tied to that addition through the Novak. And as everybody knows, we had a delay in the town meeting this year, which delayed our hiring process. So we got on it right after mid-August when the positions were formally approved. So we were very fortunate to find, I think, 2 quality candidates, both academy trained, ready to come in and get right to work.
Thank you so much for doing that, Chief.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other comments before I take the roll call vote? And just know, Jeff, you're on mute. Okay, all in favor, Paul,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Chuck,
Aye.
I am I as well. Okay, and then the other one?
Thank you, Kevin. Welcome.
Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Welcome aboard,
Aboard.
Kevin. And we do have Christopher here as well. I saw him earlier with no video on, so we'll see if he'll join us with the video.
He's
As
out.
he does. There he is. Hi, Christopher.
LT, I'm here.
So next up is Christopher Hallisey. Christopher is a graduate of Blackstone Millville Regional High School. He went on to complete his Bachelor of Science degree in Criminal Justice with a minor in Communications at Westfield State University. He attended the Western Massachusetts Regional Police Academy in 2015. And he's currently employed by the Framingham State University Police Department as a full-time officer and has been with them since 2016. He is also a special officer with the Norfolk Police Department since 2016. Christopher is looking to move to a municipal full-time department. And again, after 2 rounds of interviews and an extensive background check, Christopher stood out as a solid candidate for the position. And I would like to respectfully request the Select Board vote to approve the appointment of Christopher Hallisey to the position of full-time officer with the Sherborn Police Department.
So
All right.
moved.
Moved by Paul,
Second.
second by George. Very good. Any comment? All right, we'll take the roll call vote. Paul,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Chuck. I am as well. Welcome aboard, Christopher.
Welcome, Chris.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Welcome, Christopher. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Very good.
Mr. Jeff.
Definitely.
Thanks,
Very
Dave.
good. Thank you, Chief. Okay. Agenda item number 8, consideration of administrative items and routine business. Are there any select board member reports?
Yes, I had 3 items.
Okay, Paul?
The first is that when we took a vote to adopt the consent agenda, I wanted to note that I had some changes on the minutes that I gave to Diane. She made the changes so that when I made the motion, or the motion was made, I think it was me, but whoever made the motion, it was for the minutes as corrected by Diane and not the minutes that were in the packet originally.
Okay, duly noted.
Second point was that we had Veterans Day on November 11th. And I know that Diane Moores and Doug Brody and others put on a little event for our veterans to honor and respect them. And I wanted to catch Diane by surprise and ask her if she could give a report to the community about what was done on Veterans Day.
Diane,
Bob. Thank you. Yes, actually, we had a box lunch and I want to make special mention about Sue Kelleher because she was the one that came up with the idea this year as we were trying to figure out what we were going to do. And we worked with Doug Brody and Mike Kipcom, the 4 of us, and we put together a box lunch. And I believe we gave out 40 boxed lunches that day. We had the fire department come. Zach was nice enough to come with the ladder truck and raise the flag. So as the veterans came in and they came around the center aisle at the town hall, we had a table all set up with their names on the lunches that they had reserved. And we also had music playing for them as they came through. So really, you know, it's not what we usually do, but I think they really enjoyed coming out and getting a boxed lunch for the day. So I want to thank Doug and Mike Kickham and Sue Kelleher for a job well done.
And I would add to that how grateful we are to all our vets for their service to this nation and to all the people of our nation. Their selfless service has helped make us free and a great nation.
Absolutely.
My third point was that Thanksgiving is coming up. And so first I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. But I also wanted to draw everybody's attentions to the warnings that are being issued by the CDC and others about how important it will be to be safe on Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving, everybody, and please pay attention to safety protocols. Thank you. Those are my 3 items.
Paul, I'm just going to add to your last one. So the COVID team is going to have an update on the town website regarding Thanksgiving. And one of the key features will be advice on testing sites. Because despite some of the warnings, I think some college students are coming home, not just for Thanksgiving, but they're basically, some of them come home and they're not going to go back till January, depending on how the semesters are working. So knowledge about where testing sites are is pretty important right now, because, you know, we have to recognize that while we're giving advice, people may not follow it. So we also want people who have guests or whatever know where to get testing done. So there'll be an update to the town website, and the COVID team and Marianne Neutra are developing the guidance.
Yeah, we usually travel to New York. We're not going this year. So if anybody has any good recipes they'd like to share for a small Thanksgiving, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, turkey cold cuts on bread. That's my recipe.
From Outpost Farm.
Yeah, that's what everybody says, the Outpost Farm turkeys, right?
Yeah. All right, is there anything else? Chuck, yeah.
I got a call from a longtime resident of Sherborn, and I don't want to identify him, and I know that Chief Bento has spoken to him as well, but I was really troubled. It involves the theft of stones from stone walls, and most of us in town that have gone hiking in the woods know that there are stone walls everywhere. And I wanted to reach out to John Higley and Marianne Neutra and others to find out if there is any special protection or anything else we can do. Apparently, these weathered stones are very valuable. And as I said, I didn't want to disclose too much about what the chief and others might be doing, but I was really troubled by it. Is there any special protection for, I know walls along scenic highways have protection, but you know, deep in the woods, is one of the antique stone walls, is there any special protection? Anyone's not?
Well, when you say by the sides of the road, it's not just a scenic road, but if it's what they call like old road of variable width, and the stone wall defines that width, it becomes a property boundary, and that actually has very strong criminal penalties of altering a property boundary. As far as something though in the middle of the woods, I don't know. Paul would probably know better than I.
Depends on who owns the property.
This may be premature, so I just wanted to give everyone a heads up. I'm going to be talking to John and Marianne and anybody else that I can think of, including you, Chief Bento, to figure out what we can do. I was surprised how annoyed I was that basically these historical fences and walls are being defaced and destroyed. So.
Yeah, like I said, the ones along the sides of roads, and a lot of them serve as property boundaries. I think you could trigger the damage of a property boundary law, which is actually is criminal. All right, anything else? Select board members. How about town administrator report? David, do you got anything?
No, other than we'll be having 2 DPW employees starting soon, or at least maybe one's already started. And fire department hired Kristen Buckler into the office, which was a very good hire.
Okay, very good. How about Sharon? Do you have any financial director report?
It's budget season again. Advisory sent out their guidance, and I'm working with Vadar to get the budget worksheets out to everybody. So there's a December 31st deadline, and that's about, that's about it.
All right. If there's nothing else, I'm going to close the open session. I'm going to move to discuss the strategy with respect to threatened and potential litigation. And the chair declares that discussion and during an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigation position of the select board and the town to discuss the town library pursuant to MGL 30A 21A subsection 3. And I declare, and I've moved as such. And we will not, oh, sorry, go ahead. Is there a second?
Second,
All right. All in favor, Paul,
Aye.
Jeff,
aye.
George,
Aye.
and Chuck?
Aye.
I am I as well. And I'm also going to note that we are not going to return to open session.
Happy Thanksgiving all and be safe.
Yeah.
Thanks, Susie.
You
Thank
too.
you. Thanks, guys.
And David, if you could turn off the recording.